So I was trying to recreate this cool holographic card effect that I saw in another tutorial, but they didn't give you all the steps. So I thought that was frustrating, and I'm just going to remake a video that shows every single step absolutely from scratch. We're going to use Unity to make our holographic shaders. I've got Visual Studio Code. I'm going to use Figma. I'm going to use Blender, and I'm going to use Photopea. And Photopea, if you haven't heard of it, is a free Photoshop alternative. It's kind of like going back in time and using Photoshop 5, but it has everything we need. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and make this holographic card. I think the preview is going to be showing right now. It should be pretty cool. Let's go ahead and switch to Figma real quick. Figma is going to be our driver for making this cool little basic shape. I'm just going to change the background. We're just going to make our card. So just making a rectangle. Then I'm going to add some stroke to it. Maybe like a nice yellow. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. Now let's see if I can find the setting. There is a setting for wiggle. Always hard to find it the first time. Oh, it's here under this, and it's under dynamic, and then you can start wiggling things. Oh, whoops, I changed this to video. There we go. So this little button right here. So you can change all sorts of things, like the frequency of this wiggle. So if you want your card to look like it's cut out of paper, pretty fun. But it just a little bit makes it look like it's a rough cut kind of cool card. That's fine. This yellow is maybe not the best color. Let's go with something that's a little bit more holographic, maybe a nice orange. Okay, so this is our basic card. We're going to make this white as it gets, because in Unity we can change that. But if you work with just white, it's going to be easier. This yellow is going to be a problem for us later, but that's a later problem. Now in our card we have a cutout, so we're just going to put our cutout here. This is going to make things a little bit easier later. So I'm going to grab another one of these ellipses, draw kind of where I want this to be. Get a good punch out here for where our object is going to be. Now I can take this object and this object, and I can subtract them. So I punch a hole in the card. Well, looks like our border went away when we did that. So let's just re-add the border. Thickness here. I think it's fine if the middle's cut out. If you don't like that, you don't have to add the border to the whole thing. You could just do it to just part of it. This is fine. So you just take this part off, so I don't have double wiggles. Okay, this is going to be our card start. Now later we're going to need to mask something for an effect. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. Well, I'm just going to rename it first. Card. I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. I'm going to move it over here. There we go. This one, I'm going to get rid of all the colors. So it's just a black and white, and this is going to be a mask. Everywhere that's white will be holographic, and everywhere that's black will just be the border color. So we're just going to have these two images. Export these. So I'm just going to select the group that I want, or all the objects that I want here. And then I'm going to go over here and export. I'm just going to go ahead and export it as like a 2x size. I'm just going to put it in the very bottom, right here. Right in the root assets. We'll organize it in Unity. I'll do the same with the mask. Maybe Unity's just making it look weird. Change this to a sprite. Make it single. Oh, it's just Unity. I don't know. Sometimes the sample looks a little weird. No idea. Okay. There's that card. There's this one. Great. Our scene. I'm just going to change this on our camera. Change the skybox to just a solid color. I'm just going to pick a nice neutral color here. Don't really need the skybox for this. Create a new 3D object. Actually, you know, I'm just going to create an empty object. Add my stuff to it. Here, I'm going to make another one. So that way I have a parent object I can rotate and do whatever I want. And then the card will live underneath that. Oh my gosh, why can't you rename? Yeah. Here we're going to add a sprite renderer. Find our card. Oh, look at that. Hey, and we're done. No, we have a ways to go. Now, we need to make a shader, and we're going to use shader graph to do this. And we're also going to make a small bit of shader by hand, because I can't find in shader graph how to use the stencil buffer and set all that up. So we're just going to write that small bit by hand. Make this smaller. Graph view. Let's see. I'm going to make this an unlit shader. We're going to call this our hollow card. Okay. Very cool. We're going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, our shader is going to be really basic. We just need to sample our texture. Now, to get the texture from the sprite renderer, you just need to name it a very specific way. And it's just in the new version, it's called main text. You used to have to add an underscore. You don't have to do that anymore. Unity does something to figure it out. We've got our main texture. We're just going to grab this and we're just going to put it right into the base color here. I just change this to sprite and we can kind of preview what it's going to be. Here, I'm just going to over here and add default value of our card, just so we can see what's going on at the same time. Oh, here it is. Our surface type is transparent. Okay, now we've got our base color. We've got a whole bunch of things we don't really need. That's fine. Base color is here. Alpha is here. There we go. The thing that we really want to do a lot is save. There's a little button up here on the left. Saving. Okay, so let's go to Unity. We're in Unity. Back to our scene. Save this card. Organize this a little bit. Put you in the shaders folder. If you right click on this and click create a material, it will use that as the base. So it just saves you a few menu clicks. Go. So here's our main texture. Go to our scene now. Put this on here. We should be able to just use it. Nice. Okay, so far so good. It looks the same. It's supposed to look the same. Okay. Now, the effect really comes from doing a couple of things where we can blend things together. So we have our regular base color. Now, we need to add another texture and we're going to call this the hollow color, hollow texture. So we have another texture that we're going to be sampling here. And this is the one that's going to give us our cool thing, the effect that we're looking for. We don't have our effect yet. We don't have anything. So maybe we should talk about making that effect real quick. Let's go over to Photopea, and we're going to make a cool effect. This is the desktop version of Photopea. You can use it from the website. Issues. Here, we're just going to make 1024 by 1024. Make it white. This really reminds me of being in high school and playing around with the old school Photoshop. I used to make planets using this thing called difference in clouds and clouds. We're going to be using that to make our hollow effect, like our hologram texture for the back. We're going to pick some colors. Maybe a nice pink. Oops. We just want to swap that and pick a green here. And we'll be playing with this a bit. So we're going to go to render clouds. If we select the background. So select the background, try that again. Look at that. Ooh. Okay. Now we're going to be making use of this, but in order to get a few more colors out of it, we're going to just pick a couple extra colors here. This one kind of looks like something useful, and maybe, I don't know, what color are holograms? Maybe there's some white. No, there's yellow in them. Yellow. It's going to be doing some difference in clouds here. Do that a couple times. There, look. Look at that. We've got all sorts of colors going on. I think this needs more pink though. For some reason, holograms always seem to flash a little bit of red, but not pure red. Again, difference in clouds. Do it again. Starting to add more pink in there, you see it. So now we've got our basics. Oh, this is cool. It's got some orange. Now there's a whole bunch of filters that we can use to really help. One thing we can do is we can reduce the number of colors. Let's see, there is a way to do that. Oh, it's right here in the base. Reduce colors. So what this is going to do is going to really make this thing start looking like it's cells instead of a bunch of clouds. Pick a couple of colors. The more colors you pick here, the better. And we're starting to get some pinks. Don't worry, we can adjust all the colors later. This is a coloring book. Ooh. Guess that kind of rounds things out. And then dither. We're not going to use dither. That looks pretty cool. Okay, this could look interesting. We're going to click OK. We're going to go over here and we're going to adjust some of our levels. We want the hologram to be fairly bright. So we want some like areas that are a little bit lighter. We don't really have dark areas in a hologram, so we're just going to avoid keeping it dark like this, and we're going to bring the white value down. It's pretty cool. Let's give this a try. So I'm going to export this. Let's see. Oh, background. We're going to try a couple things. Background. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Let's make another one just so we can play around with it. And we're going to just make a rainbow. So if you guys haven't made a rainbow before, Photoshop used to keep it under the gradient tools. Here you get to pick a whole bunch of different gradients. One of them is just a regular rainbow. So I'm just going to click it. And I'm going to just make a rainbow. Export as this. This is going to be called rainbow. Oh, we do need to make one other thing, which is a bunch of, let's make a star background. It's been a little while since I made a star background, so you might have to watch me play around with this a bit. There we go. So there's our black background. Actually, let's copy this into here. Let's see if we can do this. We want to make like a colorful star background. Actually, where is this? Clouds. And clouds. Add some of that noise back in. Add some regular noise then. That's a lot of noise. Just want a little bit. What it's going to allow us to do is render out these different little colors here. We're going to try to bring those out by playing with the channels. We're going to bring our black way up. Make some of those noises just disappear, so we have just a couple of colors going on. Good. Okay. Adjust the curves here. Just want everything to become kind of bland. We're going to do that same thing, add more noise, and do this again. Just the levels. Now, yeah, it's starting to look like a star field. Just have to cut this off at the right spot. Okay. Depends on how many stars you want. Like we have little constellations going on in here. We desaturate a little bit of that. There's our stars. We're going to use this as part of our background, another part of our background later. If you didn't follow along, it's just lots of playing with the noise and the levels. That. It's kind of cool. Export this. Stars. Actually, maybe I'll add the color back in a little bit. Maybe not that much, but just a little bit. It's kind of nice to have some color. Okay. Hopefully, we're done with Photopea. We might come back to it. We'll see. We're back in Unity. This is Sprite. Rainbow is also a Sprite. Honestly, I don't think you even have to do this to use them. I don't mind doing that. I think it's just an old habit. If someone knows why you should or shouldn't do that, leave a comment. Let's see. Okay, so we've got our texture here. We need to bring in for hologram. So let's just go ahead and make a default one. Our hologram here. Ooh, look at that. Okay. We're going to make a blend node. Blend. I just want to blend these two together. Compile and preview. Okay. So what you really want to do here, you could have an overlay, or some of these give you different effects. Just go ahead and pick burn for this. That was the issue. Cool. Our card doesn't look like much yet. We need to add the cool part of the effect. That part comes from messing around with a few things about how the UVs work on this. If you guys haven't played with the UVs before, the UVs are how a 3D object maps a texture onto it. So they go from 0 to 1. And for each vertice on this, it has a little mapping that says this is 0, 0, or 0, 1, and 1, 1, and 1, 0. And each vertex, if you have a more complicated object, will know how to map that small part of the texture onto the surface. But there's a few things that are going on here where Unity, like the normal shader, assumes that you want a one-to-one mapping of what's going on, and we're just going to mess with that. Go over here to our UVs. Unity has something called the view direction. And this is kind of nice. We're just going to go with tangent. Basically, for your object, the Unity calculates for every single bit the direction that you're currently viewing it at. Let's see. So we're just going to add a multiplier here. Like view direction scale. We're going to multiply these two together. And a multiply node. This into here. Oh, thought this was hooked up. Okay. Great. Oh, our default is 0. So let's just go ahead and change that to like 5. If you change this enough, you'll see that this actually changes the colors here. I think 0.75 is going to work for us, somewhere in there. Let's just mess with it. Next thing we want to do is put in some sample noise. I'm just going to do basic sample noise here. So what this is going to do is going to interfere with our view direction. The UV is going to kind of come out of this. Put that in here. We're going to pick a different number here called noise size. Next thing, you can see what all this is going to do in the editor. So here I've got our noise. See, if you start increasing it, you'll start seeing more and more noise come in. If you make it very small, it gets very small. We're going to be able to play with that number. Okay, so got this. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give myself more screen. We're going to make something called tiling offset. This is just going to be our offset for our UVs. Pretty easy so far. Bam. These are mapped. Let's save that. Go look at what we've done. Oh, look at that. When you move it, everything moves. Certainly looks like a hologram. Something funny going here, and I think that's the color from this spot here. Is probably just not very interesting for a color. Maybe we'll go back to Photopea and mess with our shader. You can see something that's happening here is our borders are gone. Now in Figma, we made this mask for our border. Oh, that's just so cool. Now, you can mess with all the parameters here. If you want to change the view direction size, you can get grainier and bigger. You can change the noise size. Oh, ooh, actually, that looks really cool. Okay. Oh, that definitely looks more hologrammy. I don't know what hologrammy looks like, but this is definitely looking like it. Very cool. Okay. So what we want to do now is make sure our borders are okay and they don't really change from this. These are the colors of things. So this is it's everywhere that this is not transparent, but it's overriding everything. So we're going to just bring our borders in by bringing yet another mask. I'm just going to call this our mask texture. So we have this alpha coming from here. We have our color coming from here, but we just want to be able to choose another one. I'm going to bring in a sample texture here. It just comes with the standard UVs, so we don't have to do anything here. But what we want to do, we're just going to move this over. Oh, I'm going to make this bigger again. This is going to be our mask. So I'm just going to pick a default mask just so we can see it, so we can see what's going on in our preview. If you want, you can also create a preview button. But I find this works just fine. You can make it bigger. We want to be able to take these colors, and everywhere this is black, choose these, and everywhere it's white, choose these. That makes sense? So everywhere it's white, we're going to pick our hologram texture. So let's go ahead and take another blend node. And we're going to feed in this color here, this color here, and then the opacity is going to come from this. I don't remember the order, so I had to mess with it. That looks like it did nothing. Darken difference. There we go, multiply. So now we can see our border and our hologram. Let's save it. Let's go back into the scene. Look at our shader here. So here we need to add our mask texture. So now we've got a border that doesn't move, and we can control the color of it somewhere else. Like in our Figma, we can put designs there or whatever we want. And everywhere that it has a design, it's not going to have all this extra bits. It's really cool. Now, I think the color here, mostly coming from this. We can try other, like this rainbow texture, and see what's going on here. So you can see everywhere that it's red, it's not sampling correctly. But it is and it isn't. Let's see if that's in our shader. So here I've got that. Does it look like it's doing something funny? It kind of does. Let's just change our tiling a little bit. Maybe make this 0.5 to 0.5. Check out our scene again. Okay, so I think we were just wrapping. That's the problem. Or like it wasn't completely wrapping. I don't know, tile it. It was doing something weird. That's all I can say. This looks okay. Let's put our other texture back. It looks a lot cooler. That looks pretty cool. At some point, it's going to be very wobbly. Oh, ooh. It looks shiny, wobbly. It looks like a funny plastic card now. We change the angle of our light. I think this is, do we change it to unlit or do we change it back to lit? I don't remember. Oh yeah, this is lit. There. Nice. Okay, so you guys probably want to see the rest of this effect. We're going to make something hover in the middle. To do that, we need to write a couple more shaders, but I have not figured out how to do this in ShaderGraph. We have to mess with the stencil buffer, and it doesn't look like I can find anything assigning a stencil buffer anywhere in here. It's just so small, we're just going to write it another way. Now, we're going to need a couple things out of Blender, some 3D objects that we can make really quickly. So let's see, which one should we do first? Let's make the objects real quick, because then we can just use them. Here I've got Blender 5. Don't worry, we're not going to be making any kind of donut tutorials. So you can select the objects just by clicking and dragging, and then we're going to hit delete. Just going to get rid of them. I'm going to right click. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to add at the top here. It's mesh, and we're going to add a circle. Down here, I'm going to click this little add circle thing. It lets me change how many vertices I want, and I think this looks fine. 32. So this is my circle. We're going to use this later as a mesh for masking. We need to add faces to this though. So I'm going to hit tab to enter edit mode. I'm going to hit F so it creates faces. Now if I leave it like this, Unity for whatever reason doesn't like rendering this kind of face. So I need to go up here to the menu and hit triangulate faces under face. With everything still selected, I haven't changed anything. Triangulate faces. If I export it like this, Unity is going to be happy. So now that I've got my little circle, I can go File, Export. I'm just going to export it as FBX. Unity will work with the blend file directly and put the FBX in for you, but not everybody has Unity installed. It's going to be our circle, FBX. Okay, that's one object. These aren't very complicated, so I'm just going to delete our objects as we make them. Now, I need another kind of circle, actually just a sphere. So I can add another object. I'm going to make a UV sphere. This one is going to be a little bit more interesting. You see these sharp edges. I'm just going to increase the number of rings to like say 24. Leave this here at 32. And I'm going to right click on the object itself and click Shade Smooth. Now, there's a couple things we need to do. We need to edit this so that we see the inside of the sphere and not the outside. We can do that by flipping the normals on it. And the other thing we want to do is we only need half the sphere. So we're going to delete half of it. I'm going to go into edit mode. I have this sphere selected. I click tab. I come to edit mode. Now I can't select all the vertices from here. I need to go into wireframe mode, and you hold Z to do this. And you can select it this way. You can go back to solid wireframe. I'm going to select everything down here. I didn't get all of it, so I'm just going to try again. You can zoom in, try again. Sure. Yeah, I'm going to hold shift and select it all. Then I'm just going to delete half the vertices. So I just have this half sphere left. Go back to solid mode. I'm going to exit real quick just to see what this looks like. So in the end, we want our sphere to be, we want to see this half of the sphere, but we don't want to see this half of the sphere. So to get Unity to do this, so their card effect works, Unity's already rendering the outer side. It renders half of the face, like the outside face. We can trick it, and this doesn't show up in Blender, but it will show up in Unity. We're going to select everything. I just hit A to do that. You can also just select it like this, but you'll miss some vertices. So just hit A, select everything. Okay, so it's under Mesh. Down here on Normals, I'm going to flip. It doesn't look like anything happened. Now, that's totally fine. I'm going to hit Tab, exit edit mode. Here's my object. I'm going to go export it. Export this XPF as our, I'm going to call it the dome. Sounds good. Cool. Okay. I think that's all we really need Blender for. Go back to our scene and add our objects. Circle, here's our dome. Put my circle in the scene. Or put my dome in the scene. Now you can see the dome is not visible, but it's there. But if I go around to the other side, there's our dome. You can see the inside of the dome. On the other side, you don't see any of this. You don't see anything. It's kind of hard to see what's going on with it, but it's happening. Our card base. We're on the other side of the card. Okay. I'm going to rotate my dome because I cut it on the wrong side. That's fine. 180 degrees here. Is that minus 90? Did I need that? Okay. And to make things easier, I'm going to take out all the rotation. So I can line all of this up. What we need to do is put this circle over this hole. So I'm going to minus 180, line everything here. I can just take this out. If I take this position out, they'll be lined up. Now I'll select both of them and I'll scale them together. not going to be perfect because it has that jagged line. And it, if they were, it's going to be fine. So let's see what we've got going on with this dome. If I scale it this way, you'll notice it's not scaling from its pivot. It's set to global. So if I set it to local, I think, nope, wait, go back. And I set it to its pivot. Set it global. I have to set the pivot here, not the center, but the pivot. And then you'll get the half dome to work correctly. Okay, so it looks interesting. If we hide the circle, we're going to see this dome in the background. Now we'll change the color in a minute. Okay, so probably also want to add something that's half interesting inside this. Let's just go ahead and make a cube. Cube is not very interesting. That'll kind of work. You don't need to cast shadows on it. It's going to interfere with the background later. Now it looks pretty close. Except when you rotate it, you still see all the objects. We can fix all of that so that the objects are gone if we use a stencil buffer. We're going to put the stencil buffer on these three objects: the circle, the dome, and the cube. Let's just put all these things under the card so they all render together. So I can rotate the card. It'll look interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and build those. In our project here, oh, you notice I have two project folders. Let's close one of them. It's a little bit bigger. Shaders. We're going to create a new shader here, a shader graph. It's going to be, well, no, just a regular shader. We're going to just do this unlit shader. Call this our mask surface. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make another one. And we're going to call this the hologram surface. Okay, let's edit these. We only have to write to the stencil buffer, so I think we can get rid of all of this. We can delete the properties. Do need this, and we need our Q. These could be at different lines. I don't understand the syntax of shaders. It just feels like it's so sloppy. Geometry. This one. And then in our pass, we need to turn ZWrite off, ZTest off. No, always. Don't want to render any color, so we're going to turn our color mask off. And then we need to specify a stencil. Specify we're going to use stencil 1. We're going to compare always. We're going, and on the pass, we're going to call it replace. What that's going to do is when it sees the stencil buffer, the 0 and the 1, that get written, we're going to say if it's a 1, we want it to be everywhere our geometry is, replace it with the thing that was rendered with stencil buffer 1. And that happens for every single pixel that gets rendered to the screen. Now, for our hologram shader, this is the unlit shader version. Let's just add the shadered version. We need to specify the stencil buffer. Stencil 1, same as before. We can change these to be a property up here if we really wanted to. So you could specify different stencils to use. Comp. But we're not going to do that today. We're just doing this really quick. So here, over here, if we had this pass replace for the stencil, in our hologram, we're going to say, if we're comparing reference 1, stencil 1 here, and they're equal, we want to keep this one. And this one is going to be replaced. Now, I think this can become a problem if you have a whole bunch of objects in the scene that have the same reference, and maybe you have like some bleed through in your cards. Try this out. Going to create a material from this web surface, and I'm going to create a material from this. I just want to make sure I can specify a texture and a color. Great. Now, if I put this texture mask here, because we had that, remember we have back here to our mask shader, we're not going to be able to see that anymore. All of our color information is turned off. So I put that on the circle here, and you can't see the circle anymore. Now, if I start adding this hologram surface here, I can change the color, make this red. We'll fix that in a second. I'm going to put the same on hologram surface on the dome as well. Probably want to change those, but just for a quick test, they disappear now. They're only being rendered where we can see that. What we'll do here is we just include all the stuff that we need to make the shader lit. On line 29, we're going to add this property to include the shading package. On line 34, we're going to get the normal. Same with this. On line 42, this is going to be in the repository if anybody needs it. On line 58, got this normal thing. And then here's where most of the work happens. Replace the fragment shader with this. Anyways, okay, back to our hologram. We've got our cube. We've got our dome. With those materials assigned still, the hologram surface, and on here we have got our mask surface. The stencils are working. So we can change our cube in space here. And you'll see it doesn't render anywhere outside of that circle that we've defined. Now the different colors, so maybe I'll just go ahead and change one of these. I'll duplicate it and I'll make a nice gray cube. Instead, where did our cube go? Oh, here it is. What is happening there? Where'd our cube go? Oh, we need to be able to make sure that this is getting rendered in the correct order. So change this to maybe like 2001. That should take care of it disappearing. Yeah, so back. There we go. There's our hologram effect. Might look better if it was black. Oh, you know, it might look even better. We made the star field to white. Look at that. Now it looks like it's in space. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And especially about how Unity always forgets like a very core feature. And it just seems like they don't even bother testing or making games with their own products. Well, next time. Thanks, guys.